It's time to check our answers. So we already looked at our smiley face. We found that it was at 2, 1. Over 2 on the x, up 1 on the y. So now let's find our diamond, our sun, and our heart. So I first found my diamond. Is right there. It's also called a rhombus. Just letting you guys know, connecting those dots. But our diamond or our rhombus is located out here. So let's give this coordinate a name by figuring out how far over from the origin it is on my x-axis and how far up from the origin it is on my y-axis. So I like to color code. I know what my x is going to be blue. This is my x-axis. I know it's labeled off to the side, but I'm going to rewrite it anyway. And I'm going to take my object and I'm going to just kind of draw a weird little line all the way down until it hits the x-axis. And then I'm going to see how far away from the origin it is. And it is at 2. So just like my smiley face, which matches, it's on the same line right here. I know that my x-coordinate is 2. So what about that y-coordinate? Well, take this, go over to the side where my y-axis is, and then start at my origin and see how far up from the origin that point is. And it looks like that point is at 3 3/4. So right now, I can say that the diamond can be found at 2, 3 3/4. Means over 2 on the x and up 3 3/4 on my y. Now let's take a look at our sun. My sun is right here. I know I kind of drew over it in the last example, but it's right there. How can I find its location? I have to figure out how far away it is to the right on my x-axis. However, it doesn't move over. It's on the 0 mark. If I drew a line down to the x-axis, it would hit 0. So the sun has an x-coordinate of 0. And if I look at it on the y-axis, it's on that y-axis. And it's at that same point that diamond was at, 3 3/4. So I know that if I were to try to lead someone to the sun on this coordinate plane, I would say the sun is located at 0 and 3 3/4. So we have 0 on the x, and we go up 3 3/4 on the y. Now finally, let's look at the heart. My heart, that's not a heart. That's not a heart. That's not a heart. Ah, found my heart. And again, we go through that same process. It's on the x-axis, and now I just have to figure out how far from the origin it is. And it seems to be hitting point 3 3/4. If I erase this, you can see a little bit better. 3 3/4. And let's see about our y. How far up does it go? Well, honestly, it doesn't go up. It's on this line. It doesn't lift off it, which means it stays on the origin of my y-axis. So my y-coordinate is 0. So to find my heart, I went over 3 3/4, but I did not go up. I went 0 units up. Now let's see how we can take our knowledge of x-coordinates, y-coordinates, and finding coordinate pairs and plot them on our coordinate plane. So I'm going to pick a color. I'm going to start with blue because we know that x for me is blue. And it's telling me to plot a triangle at the coordinate pair 3, 4. Always start with the first number. The first number is always the x. X. So it's always telling me over. So I have to go 3 over from the origin. Find my origin, I move over till I hit 3. And now I have to figure out how high I have to go, because 4, the Y, tells me how high. And I have to go 4 up. So I'm actually going to go here. I'm going to start at my origin, and I'm going to move till I hit 4. But these points have to meet, so I'm going to draw my line over, because this is Y is 4. And I'm going to go back to my X and see X equals 3. And I'm going to see where these two lines meet. And it looks like they meet right here. So I'm going to draw a triangle at this point. Boom. I have my triangle that I've drawn at X equals 3 and Y equals 4. We went over 3, up 4. Now let's check out the next one. I need a square at the coordinate pair 4 and 3/4. So let's start at our X, find 4 and 3/4. Found it. We're going to draw a line up because we know it has to match this far on the x-axis. So it has to be in line with 4 and 3/4. And now I am going up 5. So find our y, go up my origin, all the way up the y-axis until I hit y 5. And then draw my line and see where they intermeet. And they meet right here. So there I'm going to draw my square. Ooh. It's not the best square. We know they're not equal sides. Not all the angles are right. But the heart was there. Or my heart was there. Not the heart. The heart's actually down here. That was a really bad joke. Sorry, guys. So we know that the square is at 4 and 3/4 and 5. And let's do our last one. We need to put an x at 1/2 and 3/4. So let's find 1/2. If I move on my x-axis, it's right here. So I know that that coordinate has to be somewhere along this line. And now let's find our y. Our y is 3/4. Start with my origin, go up 3/4. Found it right here. And let's go over and extend it. And I see that 1/2 and 3/4 meet right here at this point. And I am going to put an x on that mark. So I can find x at 1/2 on the x-axis and 3/4 on my y-axis. You guys are going to do a mini exit ticket, finding the location of 3 different shapes now. On Monday, we're going to see kind of how we're feeling where we are and review some of our coordinate plane systems.